When are they voting?
We have a shul meeting, I think, March 2nd, and then
Okay,
we'll go from there.
I see. So he gave his presentation tonight. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, we had Rabbi Siegelman from New York was on last week, and this was Rabbi Kesselman. I think it's going to be a very close vote.
Who else they got coming up? The other rabbis?
No, we're down to 2. It's enough.
Oh, just
Got
2.
2 good candidates.
Okay, wonderful. That's good.
Make America great again. We'll make.
That's good. So
Mario, what's going on, buddy?
All right.
We just watched, I saw him.
Saw you on the Zoom.
Hmm?
Saw you on the Zoom.
Who?
I saw you. Yo mira a tu a la Zoom.
What language are you talking? Because I don't understand the word. So you like Kesselman?
No, I like Rabbi Siegelman much better, quite frankly. Better for youth, better for the future of the shul, even though I think Rabbi Kesselman is an outstanding person. Very kind, very warm, counseling, and all that kind of stuff.
I like the other one.
What are your thoughts?
Hmm?
What are your thoughts?
Same. I like Segelman.
Yeah, I think a lot of the viejos like Rabbi Kesselman.
The viejos?
Yes,
Well, I am a viejo and I don't like him.
I know. Maybe you're younger at heart.
Maybe.
how old is this
Yeah,
other?
I think Johnny likes Rabbi Kesselman.
How old
I mean,
is
I
the
like
other?
him too. I just don't think, I think that Rabbi Siegelman's going to be better for the long haul of the shul. Younger, better energy. His wife's more involved. He's a posek. He's really, he's a world-class person. Bring cover to the shul.
I think so. When is the vote?
They haven't announced yet, but it's got to be soon. Otherwise, everybody forgets,
Mm-hmm.
We have to have a new rabbi in place by Rosh Hashanah, a few weeks before Rosh Hashanah.
Is Krauss leaving?
Rabbi Krauss is going to step back. It's my opinion that I think he may hard time not be in LA. But he's still got to resolve Torah Emes. So
All his children live away, so it's a big issue too.
yeah, he's got a lot of children in Muncie, and he's got a mother in Muncie, even his nephew.
It was very nice. Very good.
Going to be a close vote.
A little glitchy this time, though.
What?
A little glitchy this time.
By the way, Kenny, I noticed that 95%, we left off on Gufa. Amar Ula, Ezo hi derech rechoka. We said, Kol shein yochel likanis b'shas shchita. If you cannot make it in time to come to the Azora by shas shchita. Rav Yudah Amar Kol shein yochel likanis b'shas achila. No, if you can make it to Yerushalayim by nightfall, which is man achilas, which is even b'chatzoy salayla, so it gives you more time to get there. Amalei Rabbi Lula didcha kasha Rav Yehuda kasha. I'll ask you a kasha on both of you. Lididcha kasha d'amrit kol shen yachal lekanis b'shar shchita. You said the time limit is to get there by the time of shchita. V'hatame sheretz, a person contaminated with tumas sheretz, de'en yachal lekanis b'shar. He can't even get in b'shar shchita yet. The karmet shachtin v'zorken al tamei sheretz. Right? You can, since he can go to the mikveh and have erev shemesh, he'll be able to eat tonight. So you see, he didn't have to be in the Azor at the time of shechita. He couldn't be there, and yet he can eat. And Rav Yehuda kasha damar the opposite. Kol shein yochel ikanas b'shas achila. The tummy shirts to yochel ikanas b'shas achila. The ka'amar ain't shachtim v'zarkin tummy shirts. Technically, we said that tummy shirts could eat at night, yet that mandomer holds you don't shecht for a tummy shirts. It's not a kasha for either of us. Kasha, because the din of derech rechoka is letohor. The ain't derech rechoka letomei. Tumazat is a different category. The din of derech rechoka that you have, if you're b'derech rechoka, you're potter from the chiyuv of Pesach Rishon that has nothing to do with tumah. Tomei sheretz, you can't ask me from derech rechoka, but shas achila, shas has nothing to do with it because tumah is nidche because you're tomei. Rav Yehuda loy kasha, because tomei sheretz rachmana dakya, v'chsiv ish kiei tamei la nefesh. When the Torah says somebody who's tamei is pushed to Pesach Sheni, milo askinan shechal shvi shelo lios berev Pesach. It means if somebody was tamei mace, and normally he becomes tahor the night of the 7th. So somebody who's can be, and even though he can eat the korban Pesach that night, afilu hamarachmana lidchi. If you're tamei tumah space, you're pushed to Pesach Sheni anyways. So tumah and derech rechoka have nothing to do with each other. They were 15 mil beyond Yerushalayim. However, that's if you walked, you could get to Yerushalayim in time. However, let's say you're beyond 15, but Yachol Ikanis Besusim of Frodim. If you went on horseback, you could make it there. So Yachol Yechayev, even though he's beyond 15 mil, if he could get there on time by a bullet train, would you still be Chayev? Talmud Lomer v'derech lohaya. V'alohaya b'derech. When is there a p'tur? When you're not b'derech. But this guy was in the derech. And therefore, if you're chutz l'modin, it's considered derech rechoka. Hayomi lifnim namodin. Just the opposite. If you were closer than 15 mil, ve'en yochel ikonis b'nekmalim u'kronos ma'akvos or so, and technically you could have gotten there, but there's a lot of traffic. There's camels blocking the road. So the din is yachol lo yechayev. I would think that you still potter Talmud Lomer v'derech lo hayev arei lo hayev b'derech. He's an onus, and an onus is different than a derech rechoka. Derech rechoka is potter. An onus still has a chiyuv. Now he's still, and therefore he's a chayev. He's chayev for Pesach Sheni. Amarova. Shisa alfei parsi avi alma. The world is 6,000 parsios. Right? We said a parsa is 3 mil. So 3 mil is 18,000 mil, 18,000 kilometers. Right? The diameter is 25, is the circumference is 25, but from one side to the other side, I think is 8,000 miles. It's not that far off. However, Sumcha de Rikia Alpha Parsi. However, the width of the sky is 1,000 parsa, which is 3,000 mil, 3,000 kilometers. Chad Gemara, v'chad Svar. One is Mesora. The other is logic. So we said it from Netzach Chama to Shkias Chama, a person can walk Eser Parsos. We said he could walk 30 mil, 15 mil every 6 hours. Then we said Melos HaShachar Vada Netzach Chama, Chamisha Mil. Is 5 mil, which is 1/6. Right? That's the width of the sky between the time of Alos and the time of Nates. That's how they understood it. So it's 1/6. Mishkias Chama says also it's Chamisha Mil. Nimtza Oiv Shel Rakia Echad Mishisha B'Yom. Right? The thickness is 1/6 of the day. That's how they said. If the world is 6,000, then the width of the sky is 1,000. Okay? By the way, we're going to have a lot of discussion about astronomy, etc. The Rishonim and the Gaonim showed from many places in Shas that Chazal had a certain way of looking at astronomy, and they said that the Umas Ha'olam were better at it, or were more correct. Like Ptolemy, right? The various calculations that Ptolemaic astronomy, until Copernicus, the various orbits that were calculated were based on an Egyptian scientist, Ptolemy. And it appears that Chazal felt that that you can rely on their science more than because the way the Rishonim explain, a lot of the understanding that Chazal had included spiritual aspects. It wasn't just, there were scientific aspects and part of it, but part of it was spiritual, as we will see. So based on this thing, Meitzer, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, it's not 1/6, it's 1/10. Teda, Kamam Alachodim Beinoni B'Yom Eser Parsos. Person walks 30 mil during a daytime. Umelos HaShachar HaNetzach Chama is 4 mil. So it's closer to 1/10, not 1/6. So tiyufta the Rav, tiyufta the Ula, tiyufta. So based on Rav Yehuda and the Brisa quoted the name Rav Yehuda, it's a kasha on Ula and Rava. Leimet evi tiyufta Rav Yochanan. Is it also on kasha on Rav Yochanan regarding how much a person walks during the daytime? No, I'd say this is the calculation of how long it takes that for a person can walk during the daytime. They started the calculation a little bit before it got light, a little bit after it got dark. They weren't exact. Now, Rav Chanina was the one who calculated from Lot and said that the Malachim who went quickly with Lot from Stom to Tzoar, so we calculated was 5 mil. So the Gemara says it's not a kasha by Yitzushain. They pushed him. That means they were in a hurry. So you can't calculate there. They went faster, but a regular pace would be slower. Toshma. Mitzrayim arba meos parsa, arba meos parsa. Egypt is 400 parsa. Right? We said a parsa is 3 mil. So it's 3 kilometers. So it's 1,200 kilometers by 1,200 kilometers. Again, what Mitzrayim was then versus what Mitzrayim is now, it's 2 different things. Then it says, Umitzrayim echad mishishim bekush. Egypt is 1/60th the size of the continent of Africa. That's what Kush is. The Kush echad mishishim ba'olam. Africa is 1/60th, I guess, of the area of the world. The oilam echad mishishim bagan. The world is 1/60th of the Gan, whatever the Gan is. The Gan echad mishishim ba'eden. I guess Gan and Eden are two different things. So the Gan is 1/60th of Eden. The Eden echad mishishim begehenim. So that's why I mentioned this thing that you can see Chazal are mixing up, not mixing up, they're integrating spiritual concepts with geographical things. Like our Gan Eden is a spiritual thing. Gehenim is a spiritual thing. I mean, it certainly could be a place as well. Okay? Nimsa kol ha'olam kulo kekisui keder legehenim. So it comes out, Gehenim is such a big place. Our world is like the cover, is like the pot that covers, it's like the lid that covers the top of a pot. So you see, it's also different than what we said that the world is 6,000 parsecs. Tiyufta. So it's a kasha. Toshma the Tanit Velio. It was learned in the yeshiva Velio, Rab Nosson Oimer. Kol ha'yishuv kulo tachas koichach eth yoshev. The inhabited world. Now, what was considered the inhabitable world? So, they didn't know that there was a lot of stuff going on like below Ethiopia and above, Turkey, that area was a very narrow area of what was considered like the Fertile Crescent. And people who traveled throughout that little area, they would notice that a star that they looked above, wherever they went in that whole area, in the inhabited world, you'd see the star right above you. So they said that the whole Yishuv, the inhabited world, is under one star. Person, keeps track of where the star is. He goes as east as far as he can. He's still under the same star. He does the same thing. So you see, these distances that were mentioned before is also not correct. So this price is also a kasha on the 6,000 amma business. Toshma Agala Batsafon. Agala is Ursa Major. The dippers are part of Ursa. Ursa is like it's really an egel. Ursa is a bear, but Agala is Ursa Major, part of the. Agala, I guess, is like a wagon.
Yeah.
Who muzzle shore.
Taurus.
It's Taurus. But remember, the northern star is part of the Big Dipper, so that's why, and it's part of this constellation. Akrav, which is Scorpio is Bedoro. It's in the southern hemisphere. The whole human habitation is between these two constellations. It's like 1 hour's worth. Right, because you can see if it's like at 11:30, you see the sun is to the east, and then at 12:30, you see the sun's already in the west. That means in 1 hour you see the sun moving in two different directions. Right? In that period of the two halves, the sun remains above. So again, it's a kasha on what we said according to Rava, that the world is only 6,000. Because the other parts, like the oceans, the deserts, is going to be the other 11. If the sun is 1 hour, the other thing is 11 part, right? And so therefore the Yishuv is much bigger than what Rava said. Toshma. Don Rav Yochanan Zakai, Matshu v'shivasu baskol also Rosh B'shasha Omar, E'elel b'mosai av ed mela'olyon. Nebuchadnezzar wanted to go up to Shamayim. So Yatza baskol v'amela Rasha ben Rasha. You Nebuchadnezzar, you're a Rasha ben Rasha. You're ben Benoshel Nimrod HaRasha. You're a grandson of Nimrod. Shehimrin is kolom kulo alai b'malchus. So he tried to build the Tower of Bavel during the Dor HaFlaga to come fight with me. Kamash noiser shalodam shivim shana. The average age of a person 70 years. The imbig verse if he lives a long life shmonim shana, it's 80 years. Shenemar yemesh no seinu be'em shivim shana. The gvuro shmonim shana. Now, min haaretz ad l'rakia, from the earth until the first rakia is mahalech chamesh me'os shana, is 1.8 million mil, which is the amount, because that's how much we said a person can walk 30 mil in one day. So if you calculate how 500 years, it's 1.8 million parsos. The oivil shel rakia, the thickness is mahalech chamish me'oshana. It's the same thing. The height and the width is the same. But there's 7 rakia. Uvein kol rakia mahalech chamish me'oshana. It takes you another 500 years between each of the 7 rakiyas. V'chein bein kol rakia. And the same in the rakia itself and in interspaces, the space between the rakia. So it's, what do you mean you Nebuchadnezzar, are going to come climb? It's going to take billions of years. Rather, you're going to go into the Sheol. But what do we see? That the thickness of the rakia is more than 1,000 parsa. It's millions and millions and millions. So tiyufta. Banarabana. Chachmei Yisrael oimrim. So the Chachamim would say Galgal Kavua, the sky was fixed. Umazol is choizri. The constellations are what's turning. The Chachmei Umasa Oilam, right? The scientists said Galgal choizer, Umazol. No, the constellations are fixed, and it's like the sky that's revolving. Omer Rabbi Tshuva L'Divrayim. So Rabbi said, we could answer to the scientists. If the constellations are the ones that move, we never saw the Big Dipper in the south and Scorpio in the north. But maybe it's like when you're turning a mill. So you make a little turn up above because of the way the gears are, and there's a huge turn below. Or kitsinor de dasha, like a door, a door pivots on that, when you have a door, it pivots on its hinge. The hinge moves a little bit, but the door moves a great deal. Chachmei Yisrael omin b'yom chama, bayom chama malechas lamatim in rakia. They say during the daytime, the sun is traveling below the rakia. Uvalayla lamalam in rakia, but at night it goes above the heaven. Chachmei Yisrael omin bayom chama malechas lamatim in rakia. They agree in the daytime, but at night the sun revolves around the earth. So therefore, v'layla lamata min akarka.
Ernie,
Yes.
they already knew the Earth was a cylinder? No.
No, remember, Ptolemy, here they said the sun travels underneath the sky in the daytime, and balayla lamata min rakia. And at night, the sun dips below because they felt the sun traveled around the earth. That was the Aristotelian concept, that the earth was in the center and the sun traveled around it. It took another 1,500 years until Copernicus that said that the sun was fixed and the earth traveled around it.
Yeah, but when they say the sun moved around the
And they
earth,
didn't understand that the earth revolved in a 24-hour period. That's the sun didn't go anywhere. It's the earth that revolved.
I understand, but what they thought that the sun was turning and going under the earth was the
Yeah, like
earth,
revolving around the earth, correct.
they considered the earth flat then.
Not necessarily that the earth was flat, but that the sun revolved around it.
Right?
Omer Rebbe, v'nirin divreihem midvarenu. Here Rebbe says that the scientists, they have more proof to their shita than us. Why? Sheba ayom ayonas tzonanos. The springs are cold during the day, uvalayla roischin, but they become hot at night. Why? Because the sun is underneath the earth and it's heating up the springs, and that's why they're hot at night.
Yeah, but that's why they must have thought it was flat. They didn't think it was a circumference, because if it would have been a circumference, it wouldn't have had a chance to heat it. So what Mario said is correct. They didn't know it was a circumference.
Yeah, I don't think we're not talking. The Gemara here dealt with the orbiting. Did the sun
I understand it's the orbiting of the
not
sun,
to
but
what
the
the
orbiting,
structure of the earth is.
but the orbiting of the sun warming up the water from underneath means that basically the bottom was flatter than the top. Okay.
Right.
Just
I think we had by the way, I remember another Gemara where it seemed that at least Chazal felt that the earth was like a globe, was round. We had a Gemara like that. It's not here, but and by the way, even in the time of Columbus, it's a myth. It's a myth that Columbus was the one that got rid of that. There was already many navigators that understood that the world was not flat. It was already before Columbus. He wasn't the first one who demonstrated that. But we grew up with that. But it was known by other navigations. Even the Chinese traveled significantly from China all the way to Madagascar. There were already travelers way before Columbus. But again,
I remember learning with Rabbi Karupkin, and I can't remember if it's this Gemara, where he said that when the sun sets, it goes back up above over the clouds.
Well, we just learned it.
No, but this says underneath.
No, the Chazal said bayom chama malechas lemata min rakia, v'layla lemala min rakia. In a Chanami, that's Gemara.
No,
That
but at
the
night
daytime it's here, and at night it goes above.
goes above all the way over something
That's
we don't see.
we just read it.
Yeah, okay. I
That's
thought it
what
was
Chachmei Yisrael. But Chachmei Umasolam said it went below. And it's not clear, at least from this Gemara, whether it's round or flat, but maybe what Walter's saying about the springs in a Chanami, if the world is round, why would the sun heat them up? It makes much more sense if it was flat. Okay. Tanya, Reb Nosson Oimer. Bimosa Chama, in the summer, Chama Malechas Begovish Rakia. The sun is sort of high up in the Rakia. So that causes the world to be hot, but the springs are cold because I guess they're very far away. Remember, the springs get heated up when the sun is below the ground. Here, the sun is hot, the most furthest away, right? Malach begoiva shel rakia. Bimosak shamim, but in wintertime, chama malechas b'shipule karka. It goes underneath the ground, and therefore, the world is cold. Umayonos roischin. Leficha kolam kolot tzona minus roischim. Okay. On Rabbanon, ba'arba shvilin chama malechas. The sun travels in the 4 seasons in 4 different sort of paths. Nisan, Iyar, V'Sivan, right, which is spring. Malechas Baharim. It travels more in the mountain areas. Kidei lefasher sashlogin. It melts the water, the snows. Tammuz Ave Elul, summer. Malechas beyushu kidei levashel saperos. The sun travels more in the inhabited area in order to ripen the fruits. Tishrei Marcheshvan Kislev, Malechas Bayamim, it's more in the oceans. Kidei liyabesh sanaros, to evaporate the water in the rivers. And Teves Shvat v'Adar, which is more winter time, Malechas Bamidbar, Shlo liyabesh azroim. The sun hangs out in the desert to dry out the seeds. Again, what is meant by all of this is really not clear. There's very little comment. If you notice, Tosfos is silent. Rashi doesn't say much. Okay. Rabbi Yezer Omer Miskufas. Rabbi Yezer says Derech Rechoka is from the border of the Azora is considered Derech Rechoka. Afagav de Motzi Ayil. So he has to do is take one step in and he's there. So how could you call him Derech Rechoka? However, the law meaning like Kum Ayil, that means if he's standing outside Nazara, and even though somebody can call him and he can step in, and he's considered Derech Rechoka Vatanya, I'll show you Baraisa, Orel Shaloi Mal. A person who before Pesach is not circumcised, and he didn't circumcise himself, Onush Kores, did Rabbi Eliezer? Because he can't eat them, and he's amazed. So you see a person has to make efforts that the Chiyuv Pesach should fall on him. So if somebody's on the outside of the door doesn't step in, why isn't he considered amazed? So Amr Abaya, Derech Rechoka L'Tohor, Vein Derech Rechoka L'Tomei. The din of Derech Rechoka is a din only for a non-Tomei person. So, and even though there's a heter of Derech Rechoka for a Tohor, but if someone otherwise is a psul, like he's an uncircumcised or a Tomei, so you don't have the heter of Derech Rechoka. He is amazing if he doesn't circumcise himself. But Rava Amar Tanoihi, this issue is Machlokes Tanoihi, the Tanya, the Ezra Omer. Nema Richuk Mokum Pesach. It says that you Derech Rechoka by Pesach. The Nema Richuk Mokum b'Meiser. It says by Meiser Sheni, Ki Yerchak Mimcha Makom, Hashem will make the place for you far. Asher Yivchar Hashem Elokecha Lasum Shmor Sham. That's in Dvarim by Meiser Sheni. Malal Chutz Achila. So you have to eat Meiser Sheni Yerushalayim. So what is Richuk Makom? You're outside of Yerushalayim. You can't eat it there. Afkan Chutz Lachiloso. So here as well, it has nothing to do with the Azara. It's being outside the area that you can eat the Korban Pesach, which is in Yerushalayim. So Rabbi Yezer clearly holds there's nothing to do with the Azara. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, I remember Rabbi Yezer, Chutz Lasiyoso. No, it's not where you're going to eat. It's where you make it, which is in the Azara. That's where you shecht and do zrika. So therefore, come on, Azal Adam Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef, but Tmeim Halach Achar Rova Omdim Bazara. When you calculate, is there a majority of Tumah people or not? You count how many people are in the Azara. We don't count people in Yerushalayim. So that seems to be according to the opinion that we go by the Azara, not by Yerushalayim. Rabbi Yehuda, Shalom, Rabbi Eliezer, that it's chutz la'siyoso, not chutz la'chiloso. Okay. Amar Rav Yosef lefichach, Tanya, Rav Yosef glili omer, derech, shomei ani malach shnayim u'shlosha yomim. I might think maybe you're 2 or 3 days away. But then kishu omer v'derech lo haya, magid shemiskuf azor v'lachutz kori derech. As long as you're not on the road, it doesn't say there anything about rechoka, that maybe even being outside the Azora is considered like you're on the road. You don't need a specifically derech rechoka. Rambam says, Hayakor Yerushalayim be'erva Pesach yoser mechamisha asar mil. If you were within 15 kilometers of Yerushalayim, but let's say because of traffic, doiche kolche aregel o gmolim bekarnius lo yochol agia, eina kora holich b'derech rechoka elo onus. He doesn't have the patur of derech rechoka. He's an onus, and he's chayiv to do korban pesach. And if he didn't do it, he has to do pesach sheni. But he has a chiyuv on him, while the derech rechoka is patur legamrei. He of course he has to do pesach sheni too, but there's a difference whether you're patur legamrei and you push to pesach sheni, or you have a chiyuv and you're considered an onus and you're pushed to pesach sheni. Rambam clearly holds that you're an onus. Okay, so